with mild side effects.
Good morning, Balazs.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the Mild Side Effect, the most professional pharma podcast ever.
I think that should be our tagline from the end and like our recognizable saying in the beginning. You know, it's like those sign-offs. And stay classy, San Diego.
Like that. Yeah, perfect. But we
Good.
can also modify that time to time.
No. That should be your tagline, Balazs.
Okay.
Good morning again, and welcome to the next episode of our podcast. I think we're now at episode 7. The reason why I'm confused a little bit is that we try to mess up a little bit our structure, and what we have in our scenario is actually signed off as episode 12, but who cares? We're going as we decide and not what the script says.
And it's also the demand of millions of people who would like to see and hear about our insights. Indeed.
You know, it's like people banging on our doors to get information from us. Good. So today in episode 7, we're going to be skimming on the top of a very important topic, at least very important according to our opinion. And this is something that was announced around mid of December.
Even 19th, before Christmas.
Before Christmas, that's the present for the regulatory people from EU authorities. And this is going to be about the EU Pharma reform.
Indeed. And for the first glimpse, it looks quite a big thing, but also we don't know the full details and how it will unfold, also nationally and all in the member states.
Exactly. And so, again, this is the episode about the EU Pharma reform, and we decided to call this a highly regulated market re-regulating itself with a EU-regulated banana for size. Perfect. So let's get into it and let's find out what is in store for us in the pharmaceutical market in the EU. Okay, so intros behind us. Let's actually start looking at what changes. So right now we have a quite old directive. This is Directive 2001/83/EC, which is the Communicode for the medicinal products for human use. And we have Regulation 726/2004, which is laying down the community procedures for authorization and supervision of medicinal products for human and veterinary use. And this is the regulation that established the European Medicines Agency. We'll be saying EMA a lot of along the way, but you guys probably know this quite well. And there's also, separate rules that regulate orphan, pediatric, advanced therapy, medicinal products rules, and what
biologicals.
We understand is the EU is trying to pull things together, after 20 years where a lot has changed. We had COVID on the way. We had all these new therapies, like cell and gene, mRNA coming in. So that's our understanding is it's a renewal of the rules here. But again, we don't know anything yet. We're just having an idea of what is ahead of us. and we want to go basically line by line of the most important topics, and we want to see what is the before and what is the after, and that is why we put a banana for reference.
Very well.
Balazs, so what's the first let's say section that we want to analyze?
So we need the banana for scale, and of course we need the baseline, what was there, and of course the European pharma system is a very stable, robust, and structurally heavy one, and that's basically for human medicine. There are multiple scientific committees which are giving scientific advice in terms of quality, safety, efficacy, certain risk management, and more. And there are, of course, the standard ways of registering medicine in Europe. These are the centralized and decentralized processes, and also there are the national ones and some other more obscure ones. But there's very clear timelines for that, and also it's quite regulated. Whenever the authorities are asking questions, or so-called clock stops are coming in between, while those who are submitting dossiers, they can gather and submit information. And this process was I think it's quite clear, and it's quite well organized and structured. After a successful submission, then dossiers were granted for 5 years and typically follow the renewal. And after 5 years of a successful renewal, there was a kind of unlimited dossier. So
yeah, and so just wanted to touch one important topic. We are talking here about the centralized procedure.
Yep.
And what was the before was 210 days for the submission, with, of course, the stop clocks on the way.
And that's, Michał, please summarize what will be the major 3 points after.
Yeah. So the major 3 points, you said that there's several scientific committees. So what is the EU proposing here is to slash and make it more simple, in their words, of course, to moving to 2 core scientific committees, the CHMP and the PRIC, and then reducing the standard centralized timeline from 210 days to 180 days. I mean, in that sense, if you look at the timeline, it's going from 7 months to 6 months.
Yep.
But some would say, is it an improvement? Well, 6 months is as long as 7 months, but it is an improvement. And also, what is important, you said that when you filed initially, you would get authorization for 5 years. Now it's going into indefinite by default. Yeah. So and also, one more important thing is that the submissions will become explicitly digital first. So 2026, it's a year where we're going from paper to digital. So that's a definitely good time frame.
But I think most of the submissions were done through this ECTD format already, so this common technical document.
But then this is going to be like the standard. new standard.
Indeed.
The next part that we see is some changes in the exclusivities. Can you tell our millions of followers a little bit about that?
Yeah. So it's very important also for our customers. A lot of them are working in the generics business, but eventually some are originators. And currently the shorthand is there is the rule of 8 + 2 years + 1, where they have regulatory data protection, that's 8 years, then 2 years of market exclusivity, and new indication qualification, you can a little bit have an extra year. But it's also, don't mix up this with the exclusivity for a molecule. It's a totally different one with different timelines. And this is a nice and predictable one. If you develop new medicine and cleared regulatory hurdles, you need a reasonably time frame to get to the market, get commercialized, and enjoy a little bit of exclusivity. That's quite normal. And also from the other side, from the generic side, people would get access to generic products. That's also changing a little bit.
And so now the after is a little bit changed up. It's also let's say incentivized, because we see that it's connected also to this sort of I would say it's like a carrot, where the authorities are saying, we'll give you some more if you do some more for us. I would call it like that. So it's still the 8 years of data protection plus a 1 year of market protection, and then you can start getting these additional benefits. So like the 12 months extensions. If you support specific policy goals. So, like unmet medical needs, developing new indications with some specific clinical benefits, or supporting, development for the EU with, some specific launch conditions. And in the end, it's now hard capped at 11 years maximum of total combined protection. Basically, it's like the I would say it like this, that the protection is, you can maximize it, but only if you give something back. Would that be correct way to say it, Balazs?
It's very hard, and a lot of people are very cynical about indications and the evergreening of patents and adding new exclusivity, especially in inhalation. It's very well seen, but also other areas. So let's see how it unfolds. I think the policy is great, addressing unmet medical needs, or generating more clinical evidence, or developing new indications. But we have to be also very careful, because if I'm an originator, I want to develop all kinds of indications for my existing molecules and drugs, because especially in certain areas, CNS is a good example for that. Oh, I can add a new indication which gives a little bit of advantage. So let's see how it goes. But yeah, that's an interesting change.
And now,
the lighter side of the mild side effects. This time we are going to review the pharma abbreviation knowledge of Michał compared to different militant groups. There were lots of pharma abbreviations in our story today, and let's see how he is finding all of them.
So this is your revenge, Balazs, for the drug name versus Pokemon.
Exactly. So let's start. The first two abbreviations, which I would like to get a clarification. What is the
So I need to note which one is which, or do I have to?
You have to clarify them. Who are they?
Oh, okay.
Because it would be too easy. So
okay, yeah.
So you have to elucidate the PRAC and the IRGC. PRAC and the IRGC.
I think the IRGC is the militant group.
Yes, it is.
That's the Iranian Revolutionary Guard, right?
Very well done. And what is the PRAC?
PRAC is the oh Jesus Christ! Now I'm gonna make a fool out of myself. PRAC is the Pharmacovigilance Risk Assessment Committee.
Very good. And it's very close to the FARS, but I was not asking this time, which is the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia. Okay. Number 2. Please clarify the differences between EMA and ETA.
Oh, okay. Then ETA is the Basque terrorist organization. I'm sorry.
Very well.
People in the Basque country will not be appreciative of it. So people in San Sebastian, I love San Sebastian cheesecake, and you are fighting for the independence of your country.
You can't go back there anymore, but okay, go ahead.
And the EMA is the European Medicines Agency.
Very good. Well done. And please clarify the differences between the PIP and the PKK.
So PIP is probably very specific term relating to the pharmaceutical abbreviations.
Yes.
Kill me, I don't know that. PKK is the People's Party of Kurdistan.
Very well done. And the PIP is a common abbreviation for Pediatric Investigation Plan.
Oh, okay, yeah. Sorry,
but well done. You get the points. Well done this time.
I hope it's not that you don't put me on a PIP in this case, the Performance Improvement Plan for the podcast, Balazs.
Could be also. But well done. You got them right, mostly.
Good.
Nice.
Is that all?
That's all.
3 out of 3. Good. That's a good result. Thank you, Balazs. So, moving forward, we also see some changes for companies working in the generics area, also the biosimilars area. But we would like rather translate this to generics, as this is the biggest market out there that we deal on a day-to-day basis, right, Balazs? So
Indeed.
This was the on the way how the generics industry prepares for launch of a originator drug that goes off patent.
Yeah.
And I think you have some interesting observations here, how the before and after works.
Yeah, it's quite normal at generic companies that their portfolio management or strategic marketing is watching the expiring molecules and looking at products where they could launch new ones. And as you might know or not know, being first on the market is great. Being the first generic, you typically carve out a nice slice of the cake. It's quite normal. And there is, of course, the originators market share is slowly but surely decreasing. And those who are coming late, being 6th or 7th or 8th on a generic market, is typically you get 1-2% of the market at best. So being first is great, and I think that was a great movie quote about that. But I don't want to go into that direction. And therefore, all these teams were preparing for launches quite early, but submissions, it was, to my understanding, it was a little bit in the gray zone. Many countries were allowing submissions, but you had to wait with the actual commercial launch until, of course, the patent expiry, and here the exclusivity expiry. And there were also some favored countries which were allowing an earlier submission and earlier registration. We can name Malta here as one of the countries which were favoring an earlier submission and registration.
So now the after is basically regulating this, or it will regulate it, or as the EU says, harmonize, and that all the preparations can be done in the before launch of the generic. So it's in how you would summarize it is that the system will be engineered for immediate post exclusivity competition, right? So
Indeed, and would make it
there's
easier.
not a case that somebody needs to go to, like you mentioned, Malta to prepare that and be the first one. You can do it in anywhere in the EU 27, right?
That might be the case that still people go to Malta for other
I mean,
reasons.
I'm happy to go to Malta. Don't get me wrong there.
Mm.
So that as it was a quick topic, we just jump quickly into the next one, and there is a focus on supply security and shortages, and I think it's also impacted. Why this is there is because of the beginning of the 20s where COVID hit, and supply chains were broken, supply was erratic, there were shortages of medicines. So we seeing that that supply is becoming. So let's not. That's the before. That's the summary of the before. We now
Yeah.
focus on the after. That supply becomes a core regulatory responsibility.
Mm.
That the marketing authorization holders, must ensure continuous supply, notify about shortages of when withdrawals earlier. I mean, they do need to notify that, but there's specific ideas behind this, and also what is important: maintain shortage prevention plans for specifically for prescription medicines.
And
Um,
that's a big change because so
mhm,
I was enjoying COVID in at a pharma company, and I've seen from inside how much
mhm,
effort and stress and work the supply chain and the portfolio management was putting into to
mhm,
secure supply, and they also did parallel imports, and they
mhm,
worked really really hard to keep the healthcare running, and it's a very interesting change. And what I
mhm,
see uh, a long-term consequence, the
mhm,
dossiers would be a little bit different in terms that specifications will be broader,
mhm,
incorporating more suppliers, broader specifications, not really tightening the different products and excipients, and that's all in because of that. That if we
mhm.
take also this responsibility of sustainable supply, then we have to keep certain doors open and having plan Bs, plan Cs for
Mhm,
for
mhm.
for different suppliers.
So now the supply chain vulnerability is not going to be like a ad hoc addressing. It's there is a list of EU critical medicines that will be there.
And the reality will stay as the
Uh,
reality that I'm so much pro-Indian, but most of the APIs would come from Asia, and very few companies can produce their own APIs. Whatever
mm,
happens there, or whatever geopolitical situation is unfolding there, would heavily affect other regions. So no matter what we put in
uh,
the dossier.
I mean, you touched a point where we're gonna go now off topic, but this whole story about bringing back API production to Europe, you know, it's something that it's I would say it's a dream because producing from an n-1 intermediate where you do the last step and say, oh, we're producing APIs now, is not the reality because you're just dependent on the n-1 intermediate
Or
manufactured
precursors.
elsewhere.
Yeah, indeed.
Exactly.
And they are either in China or in India, like it or not. And
Indeed.
it would be a political topic which would bring us away. Yeah.
Very political. So let's just have a look at the next segment. So now we go into another part, which is touching on orphan medicines and antimicrobial resistance. It's like two things bundled into one. So, Balazs, can you tell us what the situation is now?
So, yeah, orphan medicines received in the past 10 years market exclusivity, same as different from the molecules. And this was well established, but wasn't really a high level incentive. Orphan drugs, anyhow, it's a niche area which is very much needed for the patients, but it's really challenging also in terms of not always very rewarding and very expensive drugs because of low volumes and long development times. And I think also EU or EMA feels that, yeah, certain extra incentives are needed for this special but needed area.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And in terms of antimicrobial resistance, that's something that I think we're going to be facing difficulties in the next years, decades, 2 decades, because there hasn't been much focus on development of new antimicrobials or antibiotics, right?
Or simply the bacteria got smarter or
The
evolving.
bacteria got smarter. Yes, we've heard about those super bugs that they call that are resistant to, like multiple antibiotic treatment. So the after here is that the EU will be providing a longer exclusivity for the orphan drugs. So that goes from 10 years to 11 years of exclusivity. But it gets more interesting with the antimicrobial resistance. And we've actually debated this before, how we understand this. So if we understand it incorrectly, dear listeners and followers, correct us, but this is how we get it. So there is something that that the EU introduces as a novelty here, as a transferable exclusivity type voucher, which is worth 12 months of exclusivity. And this is a sort of a reward for work in the antimicrobial resistance, that you can use that voucher for another product. So not your antimicrobial product, but let's say a blockbuster that you're working with, and 1 year of exclusivity is actually quite a lot of money. So,
and as we discussed, there would be strict conditions. I understood it differently, to be honest. I thought it would be for the AMR product valid only, but clearly not, and could be done or put on something else with certain conditions.
So basically, it's a case where high need innovation is rewarded, and sometimes these like in the orphan drugs, it's a much smaller market. In the AMR or the antimicrobial resistance, it's not maybe such a sweet product, but those incentives that you gain on that market can reward you somewhere else. So that's how we see it. And then we're slowly but surely coming to the end of this analysis, and we're trickling down from the most important ones to well, the less meat on the bone and the more detailed. So there's also some part on the innovation support, development models. Um, it's yeah. I mean, I think we've touched on the core part of this analysis. So we just skim through the process. Um,
Maybe one area which is very interesting and important, and as we have kids, is the pediatric part,
okay.
which is an underrepresented still in clinical studies, and it's also quite understandable, a more sensitive group of population. But it's also clear that anybody who is struggling with certain treatments, the available molecules or drugs are way more limited for certain age groups. That's clear. And seems that there will be also some kind of development also in that area as well.
So just to summarize, because when we have a new law coming in, it's the teams in the regulatory that feel it and they have to address it. But it feels like that this reform will also impact some other people. So we've touched on the security of the supply chain. So that's something that goes into the supply chains of pharmaceutical companies, which then can be scrutinizing a little bit the suppliers, and saying, dear supplier, we need a supply agreement with you in order to secure whatever we may need for our products. The generics and biosimilars get a certain like we were talking about some havens where you could go faster, and now it's a case where across the EU, as we understand it, it'll be sanctioned to from the day one when the originator goes off patent, you launch immediately. Anything else?
And what we are hoping very much, of course, from our perspective, that dossiers would be a little bit differently designed, would be more open, or broader specifications would be getting into the different modules, and ultimately to secure broader supply would be easier to get to dossiers. Let's see if that really happens. I'm not 100% sure. It's a kind of wishful thinking. That would be good to have that. But I think that also, due to this rather revolutionary new approach, that also supply is important, availability of the drug is more important. Maybe that is going to happen over a longer period of time.
Balazs, so if we were in a closing statement supposed to say, after reading this document and these proposals, going through the before and after, it's not an earthquake, right? It's
No.
It's not tearing down the foundations, digging deep into the ground and building something from scratch, building a new completely law. I think it's
no, but
is it repainting? Is it something?
It will be definitely a little bit faster. I think with the less scientific committees to communicate, and probably less clock stops. Sorry, that would make it faster. That's good. And with this new supply approach would be helpful in terms of preventing shortages, and with a couple of incentives to boost innovation. That's a question mark. If we look outside of Europe, how much other regions are facilitating innovation, biotechnology, Europe is still very well regulated, and it's not boosting innovation too much. but it's showing definitely the signs and the willingness for that.
Yeah. So again, our intention today was just to skim on the top, touch on what we see in these proposed change. I mean, there is no actual proposal of wording. We don't see any bill prepared. We just analyze the information that was published in the mid of December. So we are here a month later, and we don't know that much. But again, our intention, dear followers, is to touch on the information that is out there, make some noise about things that are happening in the market, and that's one of the reasons why we're here, so that you know what the mild side effects of the change might be.
Stay with us.
Mild side effects.